Hey guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to create your first instance on the Amazon cloud using the AWS Educate program. The first thing you want to do is log into your AWS Educate console or backend and check out your classrooms. I think you will have like one classroom at least. Like in this case, I'm signed into this classroom, and just click go to your classroom, because then you can head over to the AWS console where you are able to launch Amazon instances. All right, this is the backend for the education classroom. Just head over to the AWS console. The AWS console will look like a normal AWS console. So even if you're not in the Educate program anymore and you have a standard account, it will look exactly like this. So maybe if you train first through the education program and then start real machines, it will look exactly the same. And now you have two options to launch instances. You can click right away on this button, launch instance, or head over to the instances list. Maybe you have some other instances already running. We're going to start from scratch here and just say launch instance. And a very good starting point for our goal today to install a WebStack, webserver, PHP, and MySQL database server is the Amazon Linux AMI. So we're gonna select this one. Yeah, it comes with all the tools you need to run PHP, MySQL, etc. So select this one. The type you can leave as is. The micro instance is sufficient for training purposes when just a few people will access the machine, so you can leave that it is. And then I have one recommendation. In this step, I would change the security group settings, because here you can add rules on how to access your machine. And since we're gonna install a web server, we want to include the web port 80 in our list, so that machines from outside, like your browser, will be able to access this machine once we have installed the web server. I'm going to add another rule just for the purpose of showing you how to do it. Let's say we're gonna install Node.js server as well, and I'm gonna choose port 3000 for this. It's also accessible from anywhere. You could also add your own IP address if you only want your machine to be able to access the server. And I recommend to add some descriptions here, like let's say web Apache, or I don't know, Node.js. Yeah, so you will later know what these rules mean. And that's it. Now we can review the machine and start it. It will tell you, okay, that the security group is open to the world, so be careful. It means everyone can access that machine through port 80. But this is what we want if we have a web server usually. If you click launch, you will be asked to either create a new key pair to access the machine via SSH. We're gonna have to install some packages once the machine is running, and in order to do that, we're gonna have to connect through a console on that machine through SSH. So we're gonna create a new key pair, and I recommend you to name that key pair like your machine. Let's say Amazon Linux WebStack PHP MySQL, so that you know what this key pair later is. If you have several machines and you have several key pairs, sometimes you get a bit lost what key pair to use, so give it a nice name. and download the key pair. We're gonna need that in a second. All right, now we can launch the instance, and while the instance is booting up, click on View Instances. You will see that this instance here is booting up now. This is the key name. I also recommend to give it a nice name in this list as well. Let's say WebStack PHP MySQL Linux. So you will know what this instance is. And once the green light turned on, your machine is running and is accessible. You won't be able to access it through the browser since there is no web server running at this point. So we're gonna have to do that before we can access the machine through the web. So I created a folder AWS in my home folder on my computer. You can create any folder you want, but keep those keys in a place where you're gonna find them. So I downloaded and copied that key file here, and now we're gonna head back to our instance list, our console, and click on connect, because now there is a nice how to access this machine. One thing you have to do is to change the access rights to that key file, because it should not be publicly available. So if you have multiple users on your machine, on your laptop, only your user should be able to access this key, because it's basically like a password to access the machine. And you're going to have to run this command through the command line. So just paste it. You have to be in that folder AWS, and now we change the rights of that key, and now we can access this machine through SSH. What this command is basically saying, that I want to open an SSH connection to this machine. This is your instance, and we're going to use this key file. So there is no username, no password. We're just going to use this key file, and we're going to have to accept this fingerprint of this machine. And now we're logged in. This is our user on this Amazon machine, EC2-user, and this is the IP address. So this is the blank machine we have now. And what we're going to do is, in the next steps, we're going to install a web server. We're going to install PHP. We're going to install MySQL. But before we're doing that, we're going to have to update the machine. Usually those AMI images are months old, and you're going to have to update the whole machine, all packages, to the newest releases. There is a very nice tutorial on Amazon how to do that. I'm going to link that in the description, but there are a few commands to do that. The first command is sudo yum update. Sudo is the super user do, which means we're going to elevate the current user with more rights. Yum is a package manager, and update means update all packages. So this will take some time. Now the machine is updated, and we're ready to install web server, database server, and PHP. So we're going to use the same command again, yum package manager, again with sudo, but now with the command install. The Y means I don't want to manually type yes every time we install a package or update, so it will run through all the installation of these packages. And once this is done, we're basically ready to start the web server. So we're gonna sudo service httpd start, which means the HTTP daemon service should start, and we're gonna get an OK, which is good, which means the Apache web server has started. You can also add this service to the system startup, which means it will automatically start when you boot the machine, so you don't have to do this upper step every time you boot up the machine. You can check if the service is added, and looks good. So now we can basically head over to our browser and back to the AWS console and try to access the server again through the web. Just refresh, and now you see this welcoming page. Okay, so that means your Apache web server is running and delivering HTML files. The files are located in this folder, and you could start copying your static HTML files to this folder and serve websites. So that's it for the steps you needed. Check out the description. I included some links to the tutorial and all the commands needed. And if you want to know how to install database server, PHP, and run real web applications, check out the other videos.